Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Project Bag podcast. My name's Gemma and I'm coming to you as always from my home in Kent, where I live with my husband and my two cats Archie and Kit 9. Welcome to the big 3-0. On the show for you this week, I have a finished object. Yes, it's becoming something of a habit, isn't it? And it's got a pom-pom. We talk about whips. Now, considering I'm meant to be crafting monogamously, somehow I've managed to work on 3. And then I talk briefly about Yarndale and my adventures in Yorkshire. Plus, there might be a cameo from a little furry someone. Hello, how are you? It's so nice to be sat here talking to you again. It feels slightly strange because I only spoke to you 2 weeks ago, and here I am again on I think it's the 7th of October today, it's a Monday. Might be the 7th, might be the 8th, I don't know. It's Monday, which is great because I've spent all day thinking it was Tuesday, so win. Anyway, it's really nice to be sat here talking to you again. Welcome to returning viewers. Thank you for sticking with me as always. I really, really appreciate your support. And for new viewers who've stumbled upon me for the first time, welcome. Pull up a chair, pull out a whip, grab a cup of something and join me for a little bit of crafty chat. Now, as I have spoken to you just last week and I'm crafting monogamously, I'm a little light on creative content today, but I can make up for that with talking about all things furry, and I've got some nice acquisitions as well to share with you because once again I have been off to a yarn festival, but more on that later. Let's start with a little bit of admin. Thank you to all the winners and congratulations again to all the winners of the various craft alongs that I have been hosting. We had the 250 subscriber giveaway and we actually hit 300 subscribers a few weeks ago, which has just blown my mind. Subscribing actually is a really, really great way of supporting people whose content that you enjoy, and hitting the thumbs up at the bottom as well. It means that they're more likely to be recommended perhaps to people who might also enjoy them. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support there. It really, really does help. So we had that 250 subscriber giveaway. We also had the 1 year of the Project Bag podcast giveaway, and we had the Fan Club Cal giveaway as well. All of those things have now wrapped up and they are going to be posted tomorrow. I've had a bit of a delay. I had a bit of a dodgy week last week, and I'm going to talk probably a little bit about that later. I won't dwell on it too much, but we'll touch on it. I don't know why it is, but every time I sit down to talk to you, I get an attack of the yawns. I think maybe because typically I've spent the most of the day sat on my own, maybe working, pottering about, not really talking to anyone, and then, you know, suddenly using up a lot more air. Is that a thing? Is that a reason? It happens when I read aloud as well, when I was teaching. Oh, excuse me. If you talk about yawning, you're more likely to yawn as well. No idea why that is. Absolutely fascinating. Anyone know the psychology of yawning? Drop it down below for me. Speaking of down below, in the description box, you can find all the places you might like to follow me there. And if you aren't aware, my Etsy shop has moved. I am now completely on my own website, which is so exciting. And I've got some really exciting things to share with you a bit later on. For those of you who don't know, I am the Project Bag. Well, I'm not, I'm Gemma, but I'm behind the Project Bag. At the moment, I'm behind the Project Bag mug. Hello. Slightly delirious. And I dye yarns, I create craft courses, I design patterns, just embarking on my designing career. Sounds rather grand, doesn't it? And yeah, that's me, really. I make project bags, notions, put my mug on YouTube once every week or couple of weeks or however often it can be, and generally irritate people. So yeah, it's all about fibre arts here, and a fair dash of nonsense to go with it. So all the places you can find me are down below in the description box. I'm not promising show notes. I am not a very good podcaster. I don't write show notes particularly well. I don't link projects particularly well, and I can keep saying I'm going to try and do better, and the intention is always there, but I'm just never follow through. I'm a bit rubbish like that, really. Anyway, I've managed to witter on for 5 minutes about nothing in particular. So how about we talk about a finished object? I don't have it to show you. It is actually at the shop, and this is something that has been cast on and cast off since I last spoke to you. My lovely, lovely friend and employee Nessa at the yarn store where I work is such a whiz with what we call visual merchandising. So that is basically presenting the stock. So doing the window displays and, you know, floor and things like that. And we are planning our winter window, and there's a fantastic poster pattern. But can you tell what I've been doing today, by the way? Sorry, I did say I dye yarn. I've been dyeing Myra. Yeah, so we've got this fantastic poster pattern. It's by Erika Knight, and there are like knit it tonight projects. I think there's 6 projects that you could feasibly knit in an evening. There I go again. And there are also some really nice paper patterns which also come in kits. So they've got nice kind of recycled looking card surrounds, and the yarn tucks in and the patterns on the inside. And we've got a fair few of them, and she thought it'd be a great idea for us to knit one to show people what it looks like in the flesh, because possibly my only criticism of these patterns is that some of them are just shown by sketches rather than actual pictures, and it can be a bit hard to understand what it's going to look like. So I'm going to put a picture in my usual spot up here. This is the actually, I'm not entirely sure what it is. Cabled hat. I think it's simply called Cabled Hat. Let me see if I've not got the pattern with me. By Erika Knight. It used 3 skeins of vintage Aran, which is an Erika Knight Nightcraft yarn, available in local yarn stores and probably online as well. And it was a really quick knit. I'm going to admit I did not enjoy working it in the black. The lighting at the shop in the evenings, which is when I have time to work, is on my knitting, isn't the best. It's an old building, it's atmospheric, it's beautiful, but it took me 3 attempts to get the increase round correct after the rib. However, after that, perfectly plain sailing, a really easy pattern to follow. The hardest bit was knit 6 together or knit 4 together, just for the crowd decrease. I did actually adapt this pattern. I adapted it to knit it in the round. It is meant to be knit flat and seamed, but I ain't got time for that. So bearing that in mind, there's one more amendment I should have done, and between each of the cable repeats there are 3 purl stitches, but at the end there are 5 purl stitches, and I suppose that's to allow for you to seam it together and to have a uniform thing, whereas obviously I didn't seam it but I still had the 5 purl stitches. I should have reduced that to 3, although what that would have meant for the crown I'm not entirely sure. So I'll have a look at it and see at some point. Who am I kidding? I won't look at it. It's done. It's gone. It's done now. I topped it off with a TOFT alpaca pom-pom. I have nothing against woolly pom-poms other than I don't like making them and I can't make them. So, and by this point I'd had enough, and I just thought that a TOFT alpaca pom-pom would really finish it off, and I really think it does. So there's the hat again, and here is a picture of the lovely Nessa herself modelling it for me. I actually walked into the shop and she was taking this picture, so I think the expression on her face is partly like a, you know, a wide mouth frog type thing, but if you know, you know. So that's it for finished objects. I definitely recommend hat projects for a quick knit. It's quite satisfying. I would really like to try a crocheted hat project. I have never crocheted a hat before. If you are a crocheter and you have a hat project that you would recommend, please do drop it down in the comments for me below, and for everybody else. I'm really, really excited to be expanding my crochet skills. Okay, on to whips. Considering that I'm meant to be crafting monogamously, I have managed to bend the rules like a pretzel and work on 3 things in the past couple of weeks. I've already mentioned to you, so people who might not know, I'm a bit of an idiot and my followers are mean, and the 2 things combined mean that somehow I am meant to be crafting monogamously. That's one thing at a time for a whole month. In fact, longer, for 30 days. So if this is February, it's longer than a month. So yeah, 30 days of craft monogamy. It's been happening on Instagram. The hashtag is here, Project Bag 30 Day Challenge. It's actually been really, really fun. Lots of people have been joining in and getting to know one another and been on these kind of find yourself voyages of crafting discovery, which sounds very grand, and really we're just kind of having light bulb moments going, yeah, I get that now. It's great. It's been really, really good. But I had already ascertained that in order to be able to do this, I would have to be able to bend the rules slightly, because I can only work on work projects at the shop. And obviously I don't want to spend all my time at home when I can be crafting and creating, working on projects for the local yarn store that I manage. So if you're new and you haven't been following me for the last few months, as well as running my own business, the Project Bag, yarns and tuition and bags, etc. I also am now the manager of a local yarn store in Kent, which has got to be just the best job in the world. I'm so lucky. So you will hear bits about the shop as well, but they are separate. They're 2 separate things, but it's part of my life and it's an exciting part of my life. So that's how come I worked on the hat. I'm now about to embark on another Erika Knight design. This is going to be a book. Oh, my nails where I've been dyeing that yarn. That's shocking, isn't it? I'm trying to hold it like that. Okay, so this is Erika Knight's maxi yarn, which is gorgeous. It's a chunky weight yarn. It's kind of floofy and squishy. I've hand wound the ball because I had all the intentions of casting it on today. Hasn't happened. And I can't tell you much about it because the pattern isn't actually out yet. Ooh, but I can tell you that I've seen it and it's beautiful and I can't wait to start knitting it. There we go. So make sure you're following the Yarn Dispensary's Instagram as well, and of course Erika Knight too, and I will show you my progress on this next week. So this is a soon to be whip. On the topic of work knitting, I went to Yarndale this last weekend, and before I went I was all geared up to be working on one of my other projects I'm about to talk to you about. But my lovely friend Verity, who is the dyer behind Truly Hooked and the designer behind the Truly Hooked patterns, put out not really a plea, but you know, she shared that she was feeling anxious about Yarndale because they hadn't managed to get childcare, which meant herself and her husband would be wrangling their youngest child at the same time as trying to run the stall. And I messaged her, I said, look, I'm coming on the Sunday. Do you want a hand? I can amuse Frank. I can help work on the stand. I mean, we stock her yarns in my shop as well. So I know the products fairly well. And she was like, yeah, please do. So I rocked up. We were a little bit late. I was also the only person walking into Yarndale with a massive box of yarn because I was doing some swapsies for the shop. And spent a happy hour or so working on Verity's stand with her. Then Frank, their littlest, fell asleep for the whole afternoon. So I was no longer needed. So I wandered off and enjoyed the festival and picked up some other goodies that I'll show you later. But it was so nice to be able to help out a friend. She has been such a good friend to me. She's been a huge support. She is actually for lots of new dyers as well. She's always willing to lend a hand, to give advice, and she's just one of the nicest people I know. And lots of you already know that she's dedicated a pattern in her book to Lara, and she's just wonderful. So couldn't exactly be stood on Verity's stand without working on a project in Verity's yarn, could I? So I had to pick up another whip, but that's work, so it's fine, okay? Oh, see, that's how I justify it, and if you don't agree, you get kicked. Sorry, wobbling the tripod. I don't condone violence. Give me 1 sec and I will show you what I've been up to. Da, 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 da. Isn't that bright and fabulous? I just love it. This is the Tullameen Mystery Shawl that I started working on over a year ago. I was doing really, really well. Oh, sorry. Can I sit back in my chair now? Thank you. Oof. I'm sat at an awkward angle because Kit 9 is sat behind me. I don't know if you can see. There he is. There's little Kit 9 who's decided that my spot must be his spot, especially when I need to record a podcast. Oh. There we go, right. So I started work on this a year ago and I was really excited to get started. I was using some of my special stash. This was before I'd started dyeing yarn. And Tabetha Hedrick, who is the designer, actually helped me pick my yarns for this. And it starts from the middle and works outwards. I am not spoiling this for anyone now because it has been finished for about a year as well, the mystery section of it. And then you leave half the stitches on a stitch holder and you do, it's that shape. What's that? Rectangle, but it's got tapers at the end. It's lovely, it's beautiful. I'll see if I can put some pictures of what it should look like up here for you. Yeah, so I am using Mermaids Can Be Goths too, and I'm using a semi-solid Gamora, which was from, it's a strange thing going on there, which was from the Guardians of the Galaxy collaboration box that Verity did with Hutch of Die Candy. And over the course of the weekend I went from here and did all of this, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I stopped at that point because A, I wasn't on her stand anymore, and B, it had got to the point where it's a repeat of the lace pattern, and I didn't do particularly well doing the lace pattern the first time. The reason this isn't finished and this got left and rather unloved is because when I went to, some of you know the story already and I'm really sorry, when I went to Chester Wall open weekend a year late, that's me, I then went to Countess Blaze's knit morning on the Saturday morning. She has a knit morning, and it does say on the website about how you go about going if you are going for the first time. It's a good idea to call ahead. Check out her website, you'll find out more. And yeah, so I went and I was going great guns on it, but apparently I can't concentrate on maintaining a level of social normalcy. I'm incredibly socially awkward, and doing yarn overs at the same time, because it went completely wrong. I completely lost my place and then spent like the next 2 days unknitting it. And I kind of just left it after a while, and it just, especially when the actual pattern itself was finished and the mystery was over, I kind of went, eh. But I do really, really want it, and I'm excited to see what it looks like eventually. I mean, these are very much not colours I would normally put together. The designer, Tabetha Hedrick, helped me choose from my stash. And I am excited by it. Oh, I've knit my hair into it. I am excited by it, but at the same time, it's really, really not me. So I'm not sure what happened to it. I will probably wear it with absolute pride. But yeah, we'll have to see. So just to show you, this is Mermaids Can Be Goths too. This beauty is Gamora, which really is that bright. And here, waiting to be used, is, I can't remember what this one was called, but it was another Guardians of the Galaxy one. I really like it and I'm really excited to use it. And it does kind of just about pull the other two together. So we'll see. The next whip that I have been working on is the Calypso Cardi. This is the one that I started off the 30 Days of Monogamy Challenge with every intention of doing until I'd finished it. We are now on day 24. It is not finished. I have also changed and started work on a different project. I can't actually remember whether I told you about this last time or not, but we shall see. Hold on 1 sec. Ta-da! I am so proud of myself. Look at this. This is almost a completed sleeve for the Calypso cardigan. There are literally 3.5 centimetres to go, and then the bind off, and that is a sleeve. I mean, I'm now thinking that's quite a small sleeve. but it is a drop shoulder cardigan, which means it's like this. Do you see? It's kind of set in, and it will probably not come right to where you would expect it to on your shoulder. So I've almost finished that sleeve. It is for my mum's friend, Christine, who is just the nicest person. She's been very, very patiently waiting for this. She will, there's cat fluff on it. There's cat fluff on everything in this house. She will get it, I'm sure. But yeah, there's nothing really much to say about that one, apart from the fact to say it has kind of been left by the wayside. So why has it been left by the wayside, you ask? Well, I can't remember if I said this to you last week or not, so apologies if I have, but we don't do commissions at the shop. I don't do commissions myself. I dye yarn to order now, but I don't do knitting commissions. And the reason for this is that it's a time thing, to be honest with you. It's time and finances, and you charge per metre, and you know, to knit a basic cardigan it would take an awful lot of your time, but would also cost a lot of money on the part of the person doing the commission, so it's not particularly viable. However, this lady walked in and she saw a cardigan and she said, oh, I should love that, and it transpired that she wanted someone to knit a cardigan for her sister's birthday, which is on the 25th of this month, because her sister is going to be 100. And I melted. Of course I did. So I started the Elspeth cardigan, which I shall show you now. This is the cardigan that she chose for her sister. We're going to do it slightly longer, and I'm going to do the next size up for the sleeves as well, because this lady likes to wear layers and it needs to be able to get layers on. So we need a bigger sleeve or a bigger armhole. So yeah, I'm doing the Elspeth cardigan, and I'm not doing it in this. This is a West Yorkshire Spinners Croft pattern, but I am working it in Debbie Bliss Falkland Merino Aran, which is just the nicest thing to work with. And the cake has kind of been destroyed now. It's gone all floppy in this beautiful port wine burgundy colour. I absolutely love this colour. So considering I started it coming up to 2 weeks ago, the back is finished. And it is a sea of stocking stitch, to be honest with you. And there is nowhere to hide in stocking stitch if you get it a bit wrong. But I'm really, really pleased with how it's come out so far. I think that's good. I think she'll like it. And I am now powering it through the first front. I cast on the Friday, just before Yarndale, the 27th of September, I want to say. Yeah. I think the 27th. So I cast on them and I did the rib, or most of the rib, and I took it with me to Yarndale with every intention of working on it in our hotel room that evening, only to realise that I'd left the pattern at home. Alan photographed the pattern and sent it to me via WhatsApp, which was great, apart from the fact we're doing our Instagram live on my phone. It was then sent to Julia so I could do it, but then I realised I'd left my tape measure at home. So basically I did a bit of the rib last week, and then the week before Yarndale, and then in the last week I did the entire back, and then so I finished that on Saturday. Had Sunday off, not really doing anything, but I did get this far on the front, so that's not bad. Little way to go. I am really, really confident that I can get this done by the 25th of October. It's great to do. Aran works up really quickly. It's a very affordable yarn. It's a great book. This pattern book is fabulous. It's the Croft Shetland Tweed book, and it has 14 designs by Sarah Hatton, who is a great designer as well. And they're just so wearable. I can see myself quite happily knitting a fair few of these, to be honest. So maybe I'll have to start dyeing Aran yarn again. I don't know. But they are just wearable and really interesting. I mean, I think that looks really cozy. That does look really cozy. So yeah, there's that. So those are my whips, and that's us done for knitting and creative content, really. It just remains for me to remind you that we are having a cast on party on the 15th of October. No, might be the 14th. Right, so, okay, the 10th is Thursday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. 14th, all right. The 14th of October, we are having the cast on party to celebrate the end of the 30 days of craft monogamy and to start the festive cast on craft along. That's a mouthful. So each year about this time, I tend to get in a bit of a tiz. It's one of the only times I get in a tiz about the whips I've got on the thing on my board. But I suddenly think, oh goodness, Christmas is just around the corner and I really, really, really want to get gifts knit for people. Or sometimes I want something for myself to wear for the winter season. You know, it doesn't have to be for everybody else, you know. So yeah, Ellen and I are hosting another cast on party. It was such fun when we did it for our Giving Up Casting On for Lent thing. So we're going to do that again. It's going to be on Instagram Live. Get your balls wound up and crochet and knit with us as we do that. And there will be a thread in my Ravelry group for joining in with that. And it's not a finished objects thing. It's just a one thread wonder. It's just chatter thread. And I will draw prizes on Christmas Eve. And we'll release the prize winners in that episode, or I don't know how I'll do it. I can't remember how I did it last year, to be honest with you, but I'll find out and we'll do that. And the lace along is still going on. That is running to the end of the year, and the Crack Those Whips Cal is actually wrapping up at the end of October, I think. I think it's going to wrap up at the end of October because I don't know as I'll be able to record another podcast in the next week because it's my husband's 30th. Yep. The big 3-0. So it's the big 3-0 for me. It's my 30th episode today that I'm recording. And in a few days' time, Alan is turning 30, which I'm really, really pleased about. He is not so pleased. But so yeah, I'm going to move straight along now to talking about Yarndale and talking about acquisitions because we have a very, very special one that I'm going to share briefly with you. So do any of you go to a knit or a stitch night? A group of friends sit around drinking coffee and tea, maybe eating a piece of cake, doing some crafting, and it's all perfectly lovely, perfectly innocent. Not my knit night. My knit and stitch night gets me into all sorts of trouble. We were talking about arrangements for yarn and I was saying I'd like to have some more grid walls across the back, which is wonderful, but where do we put the sofa? Their solution? Get a trampette. Yeah. Can you imagine coming into a medieval building with low ceilings and using a trampette to shop for your yarn? Safe to say, my customers and I get on really, really well. But they also blame me for the monogamy thing. You know, I keep getting the side eye about that at Knit and Stitch Night. But the other thing that happens is I end up signing up for things that I wouldn't normally do. So a couple of weeks ago, I was not going to Yarndale. Then by the time it came to make the coffee and tea for Knit and Stitch Night, I was not only going to Yarndale, but I'd booked a hotel and arranged to pick my friend up and take her. My lovely friend Julia, Sparkle Julia on Instagram, had already booked the tickets for the Knit and Nibble talk that was happening at Yarndale and had booked a campsite as well, but she wasn't feeling up to necessarily camping. And I was like, don't be daft, I'm sure there's going to be somewhere to say, oh no, it's all fully booked. I managed to find us a room for 42 quid. And it was actually a really nice room in a travel lodge, or it might have been a Premier Inn, I can't remember, but it was in one of those two. And it was really reasonable. And so next thing I know, we've booked the tickets and we're going. So I got up at something like 3 o'clock on the Sunday morning, having been at work all day the day before. I got up at 3 o'clock on Sunday morning, drove down through Kent, picked up Julia, and we set off on our road trip. And it was such a giggle. By the end of it, we were so tired that we couldn't actually word. In fact, we coined some new words, my favourite of which is banonkers, which is apparently a cross between bananas and bonkers. So it was banonkers. And yeah, I was really excited. To be honest, I wanted to go more to see my friends than anything else. I wasn't intending on shopping. See my halo up there. Yeah, I wasn't intending on shopping, and I was really looking forward to seeing my friends, particularly Verity and Hutch and Lisa and the gang from The Love of Yarn, and touching base with some of the suppliers from the shop. It would have been a good idea as well. So yeah, I was kind of going for that. Then that weekend, I saw this picture from Whistlebare, from Alice of Whistlebare. And this little pup, who they nicknamed Worker, still needed a home. And I've been watching these pups since they were born in the middle of August, and hoping that maybe there might be a chance, but then not daring to hope. But having seen this picture and seeing that there were 3 puppies out of the 10 that still needed to find their forever homes, and knowing she was being super choosy, because she cares about her dogs, you know, I dropped her a message. I bit the bullet and I dropped her a message. And I also mentioned that we were going to Yarndale and perhaps I could come and visit on my way home. Northumberland is not on the way home to Kent from Yorkshire. More on that later. I was absolutely thrilled when she messaged me back, and she said yes, I'd be welcome to come and meet him, and that she felt that I was probably a good fit for him to give him a forever home. I didn't just say, can I have your puppy? I sent a long message with stuff about our lifestyle and how we propose to look after him, etc., etc. So yeah, that was then the next thing. So we were going to Yarndale with a detour, just a slight, 6-hour round trip detour to Northumberland, which is pretty much the most northern point of England. It's right on the Scottish border, to look at this puppy and potentially adopt this puppy and give him his forever home with us at the Project Bag HQ. And he is coming home. He is my husband's 30th birthday present, so that must sweeten the deal slightly. But he will also be coming to work with me at the shop, and he'll be hanging out with me at my home studio here, where I dye my yarn. My home studio is my kitchen, but I don't care. It's the studio. I'm probably going to talk to Alan and see about putting the video that I made for him up on YouTube later on. The plan was that I was keeping the pup, who I've called Magnus, a total secret from him until I went to pick him up with my friend Veronique, who is Verone's Bags, who made the bag that I gave as one of the prizes last week. Until we were on our way back. And so I decided to make him a video and call him and tell him to play the video so that when I got home, he would be prepared for what was going to come through the door with me. So the idea was that I'd play him the video, or he would start playing the video, and partway through the video I'd say, you must pause it now and go to my bedside cabinet and open the box. And so anyway, we got back, Julia and I got back at 1 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and I said to her, I think I'm going to have to tell Alan, I can't keep this a secret. So I spent a little bit of time very early on Tuesday morning before I was due to start work doing this video, and then on Tuesday night when he got home, I revealed to him that Magnus was going to be his puppy, and he didn't get it, like all the way through. He didn't get it, even right at the end when it cuts, because there's none of me talking through the video when it gets to the bit with the puppies, but then it cuts back to a bit where a puppy was chewing on my jumper, and that's me going, hello Magnus. And and by this point Alan, the box that he opens is actually Magnus's tag that he's going to wear on his collar, and it says Magnus. And he didn't get it. He really didn't get it at all. And he just sort of looked at me, and I was like, yeah, that's your dog. That's Magnus. And he couldn't believe it. It was like the most wonderful thing. It's great. We're so excited to give Magnus a home. And so I don't know what's going to happen to the podcast over the next couple of weeks, because this coming weekend is Alan's birthday, and we've got a load of surprises lined up for him as well then, because, like a puppy's not a surprise enough. And then the weekend after, I'm actually going to collect Magnus. So my next podcast probably won't be for a fortnight, by which point Magnus will be at home with me. And I'm looking at the sofa. I don't know why, I'm kind of imagining him there. And he's probably going to be all up in my face, and I'm very, very excited. So I might have a podcast co-host next time. But yeah, I'm going to talk to Alan and see if he's happy for me to put the video I made for him up on YouTube, and then you can see it for yourself. You'll just have to imagine opening the dog tag at the same time. So yeah, knit and stitch night, which is where I started, gets me into all sorts of trouble, namely driving to the opposite end of the country. So anyway, I went to Yarndale, and of course I didn't come away with nothing, did I? Of course I didn't. So Yarndale, I was really, really excited to see my amazing friends who I really treasure. People have welcomed me into this community. I said this often, with open arms, and that's something that I'm really, really grateful for. But here we are. So I went to see real friend Lisa from The Love of Yarn. And she makes these amazing crochet hooks, which are ergonomic and great and wonderful. And I bought one at Edinburgh Yarn Festival for my grandma, and I had to get her another one because she likes it so much. So here we are. Here is the crochet hook. It's all sparkly and a perfect treat. So that is ready for grandma. And it was really, really nice to catch up with Lisa. It's always so good to see her. She lives in Glasgow. We almost couldn't be further away from each other. So to actually, you know, when you just click with someone and you know that they're a good person through and through, and you just instantly click with someone and it's like you've been friends for yonks. Lisa's kind of like that. She's just one of those wonderful, warm people, and so super talented as well, and kind, and just lovely, and real friend. So yeah, I was delighted to be able to support her, albeit in quite a small way. And the other thing that I do is I have decided that at yarn festivals, my thing is going to be buying a mini skein to act kind of like a postcard. I used to collect actually, when I was really young, I used to collect rubbers, like erasers, the novelty type ones. And can I talk about rubbers at the minute? They've gone downhill. They are not good like they used to be. I had this amazing one. It was my aunt's. It was my aunt's collection before she gave it to me. And it was green, which is slightly odd, but it was a cat. It was a cat sort of sat up with its tail and its paw and, you know, fur lines. It was amazing. Rubbers now, you're lucky if you get a book or a rainbow one. It's just not the same. And then I got postcards, typically of animals if we went to zoos and things. So I've decided, because I haven't got an awful lot of disposable income, and you know, it's one of the great ironies of becoming a yarn dye, you can no longer buy yarn. I haven't got a lot of disposable income, and if you go to a lot of these festivals, as I do, it can become quite tricky. But I've decided to buy a mini skein from each festival, which will be my postcard, my kind of postcard mini. I don't think I actually managed to come away with a mini skein from Perth Festival of Yarn this year though, so that wasn't too clever of me. So I went to see the lovely Kelly of Lay Family Yarns because I knew I wanted to get one of her minis. I bought her beautiful Fallen Leaves, it's beautiful, in Perth, which will be my Perth mini-sode, which will happen at some point, I promise. And I knew I wanted one of her minis because she's just a lovely person and I like her yarn. So I went and I chose this one, and I went to pay her for it, and she wouldn't let me. She gifted it to me, which is just so kind, so incredibly kind. I think minis are a fantastic, affordable way of having a little souvenir from a yarn festival and supporting, you know, a lovely dyer whose work you appreciate. And I just love the speckles in this. I'm not really a pink person, but this one spoke to me from the basket of minis. So this is going to go in my crochet granny stripe blanket, apparently, which I haven't actually started yet. So I will start it. And that's what my postcard minis are going to go into. I'm not sure if my Advent Swap minis, because I've got an Advent Swap going on with Marcus, who's Fiberpunk. I'm not sure if they'll go into it or if it will just be actual whole mini skeins that I put in there, rather than like a scrappy blanket type thing. Oh, you've moved. Okay. I just put my hand down to stroke my cat's head and I got his stomach instead, which was a little bit which was a little bit unnerving. Especially when, if you touch a cat's stomach, inevitably teeth and claws follow. So that was my mini skein from Kelly, Les Family Yarns. She is a wonderful person. And there we go. Then this one I knew I was going to buy. This is Trance from Truly Hooked. These are her new labels, which are shining beautifully in my studio lights. And they are completely biodegradable. They're amazing. So her ball bands have changed completely. And they're just beautiful. But Trance is a really important colourway. It is named for her and her dad's love of dance music, and £10 from every skein sold goes to Mind charity, the mental health charity. And that's all the proceeds basically go to Mind. So I knew I had to have a skein of this. I don't know what it's going to be, but I had to have it. I had to support Verity in this. So there we are. Now, having said I wasn't going to buy anything, and having tried to buy my postcard mini skein and failed, I ended up with a bit of an itch to scratch. And when I was over at Die Candy stand, talking to Hutch, my lovely friend Hutch, again, always so lovely to see her. We first met at Perth Festival of Yarn last year, and then we were vending together, and it was so exciting. I was stood talking to her, and the problem with standing talking to someone on a stand full of yarn is you look at the yarn. I mean, you must seem so rude because you're not actually making eye contact with the person you're talking to. You're looking at the yarn all the time. But this one just stood out to me. It's not really like anything I've seen from Hutch before. Certainly not what I'd associate with her, but then the colours change depending on the mood, really. And this is a one-of-a-kind batch. And I know how it works. I have one-of-a-kinds as well. And you know the whole point of putting one-of-a-kind on there isn't just to say, actually, I'm not going to do this anymore, but because it lets people realise that if they don't buy it, they're going to miss out. And I was got like this, but here we are. I just absolutely love it. It's a one-of-a-kind batch. It doesn't have a name, but it's got rust colours and blues and reds and greys, and it is just beautiful. I absolutely love it. No idea what it's going to be. Don't care. I think it actually does go quite well with my ones from Hey J Yarns and Truly Hooked, so the three of them might go together. And finally, I was given a sheep in a woolly jumper, which was made by my lovely friend Julia, who maintains that sewing in the ends does not mean she broke craft monogamy, to thank me for being the Yarndale enabler. And she's drawn a little picture of us in the car. That's me, that's Julia, and the license plate you might be able to see, you might not. Says Yarn. So yeah, she drew that, and it's called a woolly jumper, and it's just really, really cute. I keep umming a lot today, I'm sorry. But thank you, Julia. I really appreciate it. And you came with me for puppies, so it's fine. And that is... Oh my God. I so nearly had my yarn in the coffee. That is not good. It's like not even on the website yet. I mean, not that I would say I would put it on the website and then put it in coffee. I'm saying that's how new it is. Anyway, that's it for acquisitions. Yarndale was wet. It was super, super duper wet. I'm really good. I think Julia's really glad she didn't camp because her campsite would have been completely flooded. The river in Skipton where we were staying had burst its banks. It was just pounding down. It was really, really intimidating, actually. But after Yarndale, we were tired and my trainers had decided to leak. I also had to buy new jeans on the way up. So never mind the fact, right, before we went, we knew we were going to have an Instagram pyjama party. We were going to do an Instagram live, me and Julia, and chat to everyone and talk Yarndale, and it was great. It was great fun. And I toyed with the idea of buying new pyjamas so I looked presentable for this Instagram live. And I was sat in Asda car park and I'm thinking, what am I doing? That's like practically a skein of yarn if I buy these pyjamas. So I didn't. But then there was a bit of a mix up with the washing, and the only clean pair of jeans that I had to go to Yorkshire with were jeans that I had a little tiny rip somewhere rather little, you know, somewhere. You can imagine where this rip was. And I thought it's fine because no one's going to see it, because frankly, if you're looking that close, we've got bigger problems. And it was great until I clambered in and out of the car to get to the services. And every time we stopped and we got back in the car, you just heard a rip, and it just went further and further. And it was getting to the point where it was like round the back of my leg. There was no way of hiding it. If I'd been the type to wear colourful tights underneath, I could have had colourful tights sticking out of one and my other leg in a jean, and that would have been fine. So no, we had to stop at Asda's and I had to get jeans after all. So we did that. I didn't buy the pyjamas to save money for yarn, and then I had to buy jeans. And now I'm going to have to buy new trainers because they've started leaking as well. So I ended up squelching around Yarndale. I felt that it was better in the afternoon on the Sunday because it wasn't quite so busy. I felt quite overwhelmed to start with. I was also quite aware of the fact that it was really hard to navigate. I'd been told that because it was in pens, the sizes are restricted, and I totally get that. And actually I was pleasantly surprised in that sense. But what I found tricky, even as an able-bodied person, was navigating the walkways because they're ridged and there are gutters between between the walkways and the pen entrances. It's just the way that the sheds are done. I think if there was some sort of flooring they could lay down, that might be something that'd be a good idea. I mean, I managed, but there are a few people who were struggling to get into the stands because of that gutter. People in wheelchairs, people who were less mobile, you know. So that's definitely something. It was huge. There were so many vendors, and I did spend a lot of time sort of networking and talking to people about the shop. I met the lovely Verity from Bar Ramu and came away with some squishies to play with for the shop, which I might talk to you about another time. I might not, we'll see. Yeah, so it was really good. I'm glad I went. It was my first ever one. I love the fact that they have like a community project every year, and they bring the community. So it was the bunting and mandalas, and this year it was teddies. I think that's really cool. But yeah, it was fine. I felt it was perhaps a little bit crowded. I guess maybe because the weather meant that no one was really stood outside, whereas before people would probably spread out a bit more on the sunnier weather. And I know some of the vendors got quite wet as well because the rain was like sheeting sideways and coming through, because it's a barn, so it was coming through the slats and onto the vendors, which can't have been nice. So yeah, and then afterwards, soggy, tired, cold, I found us a pub to have dinner at, and it was the most amazing dinner. There was a roaring log fire and we just started to feel human again, and that was really, really nice. I think that's everything I really got to say. I mean, there's probably loads more I could talk about, but I'm just a bit vague and tired. I actually had a day off. I had a screen-free day yesterday on Sunday, and I loved it. I would really, really recommend it. Have any of you done this before? So I woke up and I was expecting a phone call from a magazine editor. I was expecting a phone call from the company secretary for the shop that I work at. It's my one day off, and I just thought, no. I am switching my phone off. I am turning all the screens off. I'm not having the telly on. I'm having a screen-free day. I just needed it, and I felt so good for it. And I know it's awkward me sitting here saying this when you're watching me on a screen, and I rely on my screen, I rely on social media and the internet to run my business, but I think as long as we're in control of how much we're using it, then that's okay. I think when it starts to take over your life and encroach, and you end up being available 24/7 and not having a life of your own and not being able to switch off, that's when it becomes a problem. And the thing is, with having all this technology and this methods of communication in our hands all the time is, I find, it means that you feel that you should be available 24/7. You know, I mean, even during the night, messages will come through. If I'm awake, I will look at them. And I just think the time has gone where you could leave the office for a day off and have a day off. So I text my deputy, because the shop was open yesterday. I said, this is my landline number. If you need me, call that. I'm switching my phone off. And she didn't need me. Phone didn't ring. And it was just so nice. I got so much done and I slept better that night, and I felt happier when my husband came home. I didn't feel like I'd wasted the day. It just all felt so positive. I'm going to try and do that again. The way it runs at the moment is I work every day apart from Sunday. So Monday I work for the project bag. That's my day to do the project bag stuff, which is, it's hard cramming everything in. Tuesday is I work from home, but it's work for the shop, the admin stuff. I just started that last week and it's amazing. I get so much more done. Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, I'm at the shop in the afternoons and evenings, and in the morning I'm working for the project bag. And Saturdays I'm at work all day at the shop. Sundays I sometimes am at work at the shop. It depends if something's going on, but that, if not, that is my day off. And I just thought that I need to stop giving that little bit of time that I have away. I need it for me. I need it to recharge my batteries and be able to keep going. So that's what I did, and it was wonderful. So I have some bits to talk to you about. Oh, the cat has got tangled in my arm. First of all, I have got a very limited run of hand-dyed yarn in the Myra colourway on my DK base, which is 100% superwash merino, going into the shop. Can you not push me, please? Wait. This cat is just shoving me about until I'm out of his way. But, oh, there we go. Let's give that a quick twist so you can see it. So this is Myra, and it is on my 100% DK, no, 100% superwash merino DK base. It's really squishy and lovely. So I have got 6 skeins, I think, of that going into the shop. I also have 2 of these. I'm not going to dye these again because they were a nightmare to get colour fast, and I will put on there as well that you must wash them separately the first time you wash this one. I love it. I've got no idea what I call it or if I dye it again. So these are 2 one-of-a-kind colourways. This beautiful rich red with some darker patches. It was meant to be port, but it didn't work out. But what I've got instead is just moody and gorgeous, and I kind of love it. Sorry. I also have 4 skeins of afternoons going into the shop as well. So there will be some DK weight yarn going in there. I have also put my custom orders on there as well. You can custom order various of my colourways. I'm looking at a discount structure for if you buy 4 skeins, but we'll see, basically, we'll see. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is my Christmas Eve box. So by the time this goes up, around about the same time, pre-orders will be going live on my website. I'm not doing an advent calendar this year, but I am doing a Christmas Eve box. And the idea is that you purchase it for yourself or someone purchases it for you. And on Christmas Eve, when you've done all that running around and all that shopping and you're feeling kind of frantic, or maybe you're someone who, like me, would kind of rather ignore Christmas a little bit this year, or you find it challenging, I think the idea of having something to open that is a treat for you and for you to take time out for yourself in this really kind of hectic, pressured, social construct time of year is a nice thing. I know I'd like it. So it's based on the idea of a Christmas Eve box, which started off being really big in America, and it's kind of coming over here now, where you would have a box with maybe some new pajamas and a new book, and you would open it and maybe hot chocolate, and you would open it on Christmas Eve, and you would, enjoy yourself. and take some time for you. And my Christmas Eve box is the same principle. You get a skein of yarn, which will be dyed specific. It's a secret colorway. It's exciting. I know what it is. So yeah, there's a skein of yarn which is variegated. It's based around Christmas treats, festive treats. So there'll also be a recipe card and a notions pouch and some other little gifts themed around it, and everything's going to be wrapped individually and beautifully presented, sent with love from me to you as my valued supporters. And then the box it's in will be wrapped as well, and that will be placed within another box and sent, so you can open the original box and have this beautiful wrapped box to open, well, whenever you want, really. So they are going to be £36, including postage to the UK and the EU. There will be a surcharge for postage to the rest of the world. You can also add another skein of yarn, a coordinating semi-solid skein of yarn, to your box if you wish, and that will be an extra £14. That saves you £4 off the normal retail price of my 4-ply yarn. I'm only offering my 4-ply superwash merino nylon base this year, and it's a very limited run. I'm just seeing how it goes, but if it goes well, then I'll be extending the bases and offering more options next year, and there are some treats in there as well for you to enjoy. So pre-orders for those are going onto the website. Here's a picture of the promo image. I'm really excited about it. I just love it. And yeah, by the time you watch this, it will be live, and get yourself over there. There are very limited slots. I will switch the listing off when I get to the maximum ones I can do. International orders will be posted last week in November, and UK and EU orders will be posted the first week in December. Well, that's it from me. Relatively short, relatively jam-packed with things. I hope that whatever you are doing, you have a lovely, lovely crafty week and are keeping nice and cozy in this autumnal sweater weather. Take care. Bye.